Jennifer Aniston for Angelina Jolie, and then we find out that Gail got, put in for some other position that was going to be like 60 Minutes type, anchor job and didn't get it, and all this kind of shit. And then we run into fucking Dewey.
Who has no limp now, or at least not as much of a limp.
Yeah, when he's got a little sports coat on and a fucking cell phone, and he walks up and he, acknowledges Jennifer and starts talking to her, and then looks and sees Gail and kind of stops, and he's like, huh, wow, Gail. Well, someone dies, and look who comes running, And that's just like, you're like, oh, shit. Well, apparently it wasn't all fucking rose petals and wine like it was at the end of the last movie, because apparently they're on the outs again. And you get a little taste of that back and forth. And then you find out through talking that Dewey is a technical advisor on this film because he went through the real thing and knew the real people, so they needed somebody with that kind of insight, so they gave him a job as a technical advisor. So he's working in Hollywood, for the studio, and working with Jennifer in a very close manner, which I think you see a little bit of that jealousy come out on Gail, a little bit there when she finds out, how close they are. But, one of my favorites, you talk about cameos, like we did in the last movie, when they kick Gail out, you got Lance Henriksen playing John Milton, which is funny because John Milton was the name of Al Pacino's character in Devil's Advocate. And John Milton wrote Paradise Lost, so it's kind of obviously like a nod and homage to that. So yeah, you get that, and then he's like, "What the hell is this, Gail Weathers?" And she's like, "Can I be any more popular?" And right before that, you get where she's accosted by an actor who turns out to be playing Dewey, and she apparently ran some fucked up story on him, like he crashed his car. Almost like he's like an Andy Dick type, because the same kind of thing came out about Andy Dick right about that time. He crashed his car into like a pole and drinking and drugs or something, or it was, the excuse for it or whatever. So you get some animosity there, and then she gets kicked out, and right as she gets kicked out, you see a group of people walking by, including Wes Craven, who is the guy at the back that raises his hand like he needs a potty break, and he's got sunglasses and a camera and some shorts, and it's just cool as shit. And then you see Kevin Smith and Jay Muse, so you get a crossover there. You get to see Jay and Silent Bob.
Miramax made it happen. Hey, by the way, I do have to make the part I do like where before she gets kicked out, Lance Henriksen's like, detectives, there's not any reason to think that this has anything to do with the movie. You're making a movie called Stab. He was stabbed.
Oh, you want to know what's great? If you listen to that guy's voice, that guy is actually the voice and one of the bodysuit actors for Raphael from the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and you kind of hear it when he talks later. He's like, I know where you're going. You're going to get some chocolates and some flowers. You get that Bronx, New York accent, but that is in fact the same actor. But yeah, so you get to see that, and you get some other neat references and some neat interaction between. His name is Wallace in the movie, and you get some neat interaction between him and Kincaid, because Kincaid says messing with the cops, very Seven, very you get some other like movie references in there, and he seems to be a bit of a red herring at certain points in this movie, or you're not really sure. He's kind of suspicious. The cop.
Absolutely, he is.
In certain points of this, and she gets kicked out of the studio, after all that, and then she's like, I'm working with Kincaid, and Dewey kind of just brushes it off like her being a bitch and just goes on about his merry way. And, so then after that, she gets kicked out, and then it goes, I guess, to, Sarah Darling, who is Jenny McCarthy. She's supposed to come back, and you've already been introduced to Roman Bridger. He's the director for this new Stab movie called Stab 3, Return to Woodsboro, or Stab 2, Return to Woodsboro. And he's trying to make sure the movie don't get shut down, because they told him he had to do a love story, and, once he did his love story, he could do, he had to do a horror movie, and then he could do, the love story he wanted. So he got to do the horror movie, and now they're threatening to shut it down. And one of the producers telling them we don't want that kind of publicity is, in fact, famous producer Roger Corman, who makes the cameo there. And he's like, Cotton, it was your goddamn idea, guys. Trashy talk show host and ex-con, He must have pissed people off 9,000. You know, so what if we quit making scary movies? All the psychos are going to retire? Come on. And then you get a neat line from Lance Henriksen's character. He's like, I've been making scary movies for 30 years, never had a psycho problem. You know, so you kind of get the commentary on violence in cinema there again, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then we cut to Sarah Darling, and you kind of, you know, right before that you get introduced to other actors. You get introduced to Dion Richmond, who is Ricky, who works at the video store, and they're like, it's an homage to Randy, is what he was saying. And
bling bling. That's what I think of. Bling bling when I see him.
Yeah. And then you get Emily Mortimer, who is the girl who won the talent search to be the new Sydney. And then you get Candy, who is actually Sarah Darling, who is in real life Jenny McCarthy. And you get to learn she's kind of a bitch character. And she sort of gets her comeuppance because she goes to have a meeting with Roman and gets fucked up. After the guy playing Ricky, after the guy playing Tyson leaves with the makeup man, she gets fucked up. In a really horrible way, too, like, you know, and she tries to fight to kill her off with these movie props that look real but aren't. So there it is again, everything in Hollywood is not what it seems. You know, you think props are actually real props and they're, you know, are more realistic, they're not in this movie.
The part with all the Scream, like, suits reminded me of, it reminded me of My Bloody Valentine with all the miners' costume or outfits.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Going way back.
Well, I haven't actually seen My Bloody Valentine.
Damn, man, you need to check out the original. Get the uncut though.
Yeah, I need to check it out. I will. But she gets fucked up, and then Sydney is putting away groceries and stuff with her dad as she hears that there's been another murder and it's a production on the news. You know, the production has been officially shut down. So that's when she starts to really know that it's not a game, that there is, in fact, another series of murders happening. And we get some weird dream sequences from her, dealing with her mother, that are kind of creepy. You know, after all this.
It's like going back to Nightmare. Wes Craven resisted it until Scream 3 to, you know, do the Nightmare stuff.
Oh, unless you count the Wes Craven dressed as Fred or the janitor type thing, but yeah. I mean, other than that, he kind of refrained from it. But the dream sequence is really great, and it really disturbed me, you know, like the depiction of it, because I've had dreams like that where you're looking out, or you see something outside, and they look at you, and then you open your eyes, and there they are, and she's standing at the window with this bloody hand going down. She's like, "You're poisoned, Sid. It's just like me, you know, poison." And then her voice kind of trails off, and it almost sounds like the voice that the guy hears in Scream 2. It sounds very similar to that. And then all of a sudden, the mother slides down the window, and Ghostface jumps up and stabs at the window and breaks that shit. And then she wakes up and you realize it's all just been a really fucked up dream. You know, none of that shit really happened right there. But it's really cool the way that's done. Very Nightmare on Elm Street.
I think so too, but they did a good job with it. It's a little weird. There's times where I can't figure out whether it's the killer doing it, you know, because we'll get to that later, or if it's just a dream sequence. This one is just a dream sequence, so we know that. Yeah,
we know that. And then, so after that, you know, she's going to work. You know, she's putting on her headset and doing her crisis counseling thing, going to work, and she gets a woman on the phone who apparently to her ears has a very familiar voice. And she says, "Your voice, you know, I've killed someone. I know it. I killed them." She's like, "Well, then the person you need to talk to is the police." She's like, "No, I need to talk to you." You know, and then
creepy.
And then this conversation gets weirder and fucking creepier. And then she's like, "Your voice, I'm sorry, your voice." She's like, "You know your mother's voice when you hear it? Now turn on the news. You still there, Laura?" And then she looks down and realizes she hasn't hit the work button for work on the phone. She's on the fucking landline, the home line. You know, and at that point, and then she turns on the news and sees that the production's been shut down. They're talking about the deaths and Sarah Darlin's death, and then she's like, I got one question for you. And then all of a sudden the voice does that change again. We get the female voice that goes to the Ghostface voice over the phone. So he's found out her phone number, which means he's too damn close for her. So she gets the fuck out of Dodge. She leaves. And
which I can't blame anything she's done in this movie. I would go isolate myself too, but then at that point, there's no point anymore. So that's,
it's kind of funny though. The way the dialogue is with her and her father. She's like, "Why did she have so many secrets, Dad?" And that's before you realize. That's before she realizes that there's more to her mother and her mother's life than she realized. And, it's almost like kind of like foretelling it. Predicting what's going to happen later. But anyway, so Kincaid and Dewey kind of come to blows because, they're both cop types and, all that. And you get that weird interaction between Stephen Stone, which is Jennifer's bodyguard, and Dewey. And he doesn't like Dewey and Dewey doesn't like him. And, just Dewey kind of doesn't like really anybody in this movie. Like, he doesn't like Kincaid. He doesn't fucking like Stephen Stone.
Well, he didn't like too many people in the last movie either. Dewey's just bitter.
Yeah, I mean, he is for sure. But you can't blame the guy. Look at what he went through, for Christ's sake.
Exactly.
You get almost gutted, left for dead, and the chick that you're trying to save and be with fucking, blows you off both times after getting fucked up like that. And then you find out earlier, and then it's like, well, I waited till you were well, so she stuck around for a little while, and then she left. To go pursue her own career or whatever. And then, so you get all that, and you find out that that she's working with Kincaid, and Dewey's there too, and he's telling Dewey that he wants Sid to be brought in. He's like, do you know how to contact her? And she's like, he's like, do I need to arrest you, this, that, and the other? And he's like, was that a threat? He's like, if it's a threat, you'll know it. And I'm like, oh, shit. He's, and then the cop reaches for his gun, almost like he's going to just fucking, it's just, their relationship is really precarious, And so Dewey goes to make the call to call Sid after all that exchange, and right as he's calling to leave her a voicemail, she walks in the door, and he does that goofy shit where he's like, okay, like, I just want to make sure you're, okay, and all that. So they hug, and she looks at him like, damn, because he's all fucked up, because at that point, there's been another murder. Tom Prinz, the asshole that was playing Dewey, gets blown up in the fucking house.
Yeah.
And Jennifer's house gets all fucked up, the gas leak, it blows up. Stephen Stone gets stabbed to death. That's where you get to another red herring spot, because when you hear Dewey's voice on the phone while Stephen Stone is checking his trailer, it sounds like it's really Dewey at first, until the Ghostface voice comes back and he stabs the bodyguard in the back and then hits him with a fucking pan and shit. And
dude, that's the first time they brought up Tatum, too.
Yes, he's like, I'm just making sure there's nobody here in your tin can waiting to off you like you did your little sister. And he's like,
I'm like, damn, David Putty's an asshole.
I'm like, damn, I can't believe you said that. That makes me, and then he's like, angry. And that voice changes, and he's like, fucker, and he keeps trying to like fight him, and he gets all fucked up, and basically all that shit goes down. The house gets blown the fuck up, and then there's the fucking Gale and Jennifer finally come to blows, and they fucking like punch each other and shit. That's funny.
And then they became friends.
Yeah. So all that shit happens, and by that point, when Sid sees Dewey, Dewey's got marks on his face where he's got all fucked up, and she's like, Jesus, are you all right, Dewey? Are you okay? He's like, yeah. She's like, what about her? How's she? He's like, fine. It'd take a direct hit. and it's funny. So when they see each other, you think there's going to be some more of that punching action, but they're not. They hug each other, and then she meets the detective who has like this really fucking unhealthy kind of like obsession with her. Like, it's creepy. You see it later in the articles that he has. She sees it. You know, it's really creepy. So you're getting the vibe that maybe he doesn't have the best intentions. You know, he might be a killer.